Yes, good evening, folks. What's happening? Welcome back to the channel. This is the starting 11 prediction for tomorrow's Europa League tie against Sturm Graz. And of course, we come into it off the back of that horrible defeat at Dens Park on Sunday, 2-0 in the end. I don't think anybody seen that coming, particularly. I mean, even given that the form the team's been in, how things have been going, I don't think anybody forecast a 2-0 defeat. And I think it really did highlight just how bad things have become and are becoming for Celtic this season. Since the game, we've had the fallout of Brendan Rodgers' comments in the post-match press conference, some quotes from Callum McGregor after the game as well, and then of course we had the pre-match stuff for this game tomorrow, which came out today as well. Brendan Rodgers obviously made that comment about being in a race with a Honda Civic instead of a Ferrari, which I think, as he's explained it, is alluding to the pace in the team and it not being anywhere near what it was last season. I think it was an ill-judged comment because a lot of people jumped on it, particularly given the fact that he is a Celtic manager and he's just been beaten by Dundee, who were bottom of the table, the worst team in the Scottish Premiership by many accounts so far, and they actually won the game comfortably, in all fairness to them, not trying to take anything away from them. They performed really well, defended well for all that we really threw at them in the way of clear-cut chances. But I think the performance all round was extremely worrying, and I think hands down, I said this in the post-match with Martin, hands down the worst performance of the season, and there's been a few contenders for that already. I think to lose a game like that in that manner tells you everything about where the team is at just now. And then Callum McGregor after the game saying that there is a disharmony there, which isn't ideal, and that at this moment the team is too easy to play against. I think that is the most damning thing you can say about a football team, let alone a Celtic team, to be easy to play against is very, very stark. I think looking across the team, you used to look through this Celtic team and think there's players in just about every position in the pitch that you think would be a nightmare for the opposition to come up against, whether that's Carter Vickers in defence, the quality we had in midfield. If you think back to previous times where you think about the intensity and the pace that we had up front with the likes of Kyogo and Kuhn and Maeda when he was at his heights as well. There was numerous players across the team who you thought that would be a nightmare as an opposition player to come up against him. Now you look through the team as it is just now, and you would relish playing against Celtic just now, both individually and collectively. You would fancy your chances in one-on-one battles against most of the players, the way they've played so far this season, and particularly looking at that game on Sunday. And I think, like I say, for the manager to make those comments, you do have to worry about the impact that might have on the players. And he was asked about that today, and he just shrugged it off. He was like, I don't really care. I can't please everybody. And I think that tells you where he's at with it. He doesn't regret it. He said it because he meant it, and that's true. There's no doubt that the pace and the speed in the team is nowhere near where it was last season. And I think the manager himself is obviously coming under pressure now. I think that everything has gone stale from the boardroom to the dugout to the pitch, something that's been talked about quite a bit recently. And I think it does cascade down, as I've said numerous times, from how the summer unfolded, where we started, and everything that went on in the transfer window, the quality of the squad we've ended up with, or the lack of quality in the squad and the lack of depth that we've ended up with. It's really cobbled together. If you look at the depth, you look at the players in key positions, it's so far from where it was. But the manager himself, his problems go back really to the back end of last season when there was that huge drop off, and we talked a lot about whether it was just because the players' heads had been sort of focused on trying to close out a treble, which incidentally we didn't manage to do. But the gap in the league being so big that they'd sort of subconsciously switched off and stuff. But I think what you were seeing was a real malaise start to set in, maybe for the manager, maybe for some of the players, as I talked about at length with Martin on Sunday as well. So it looks like a team in disarray, and I think it's really difficult to look at this Celtic team and see where the upturn is coming from. Now, that's not to say that it won't happen, but looking at the performances, and if I just read you some stats, which I'm sure you've come across whether it be in match coverage or online social media. The last few days we've had 1 win in the last 5 games in all competitions. I joked, I think in the starting 11 for the Braga game, I joked that no wins in 3 was a mini crisis for Celtic. Since then, we've scraped a last minute winner against Motherwell and been beaten 2-0 away at Dundee, who were bottom of the table, get into that game. So if that was a mini crisis, I don't know what you would call this. We've had 4 wins from the last 11 games, and we've failed to score in 6 of our last 11 in all competitions, or 6 of 14, which is the entirety of the games we've played. We've played 14 games in all competitions so far this season, failed to score in 6. Those 6 have came in the last 11 games. It's really difficult, like I say, to take positivity and see where the upturn is going to come from. This does look like a team that has no stability, no confidence, certainly not in form. And I think all you need to be right now to beat this Celtic team is that. You just need to be stable. You just have to have a bit of confidence about you. You just need to be functioning. You just need to be applying yourself to the game and giving some intensity and the level of effort you'd expect. It's interesting I think to hear the manager, a lot made of his comments at the weekend, but to hear him today say that we need to get better at all the things that aren't about talent, that should offend the players, because that tells you that they're not doing the basics of the game. They're not running. They're not winning tackles. They're not winning headers. They're not competing well enough. And that, as a professional at any level, should be offensive to you. That should really hurt your pride, and you should be all out to prove that the next game, which is tomorrow, and in the bigger games coming up, we've got Sunday to look ahead to as well. You'd be all out to prove the manager wrong, to prove that he's wrong, to suggest that you're not doing the basics right, that you're not running hard enough, that you're not intense enough, that you're not winning tackles. Those are the things that should really get at a professional, and let alone one who's playing for Celtic. When tens of thousands of people turn out to watch you every single week, the non-negotiables for anybody are the basics: to run hard, to tackle hard, to win duels, to put your body on the line. And I think you can see, just watching the game every week, just with your eyes, compare it to last season. The running isn't there, the intensity isn't there, the speed, the desire, it's not there, and that's been borne out in the results. This video is brought to you in partnership with FPRO, the ultimate football training app. Winter is fast approaching, and in Scotland that means long dark nights and frozen pitches, but with FPRO your child can take their game to the next level. FPRO guides you through over 110 professional exercises to help you achieve technical excellence and master the fundamentals of the game that every player needs. FPRO is used by players from the top academies across Europe, and it only takes 20 minutes a day to see real progress. You can track your performance, compete against your pals in the app to move up the leaderboard, and earn rewards as you improve as well. Whether it's inside or out in the garden, the FPRO dribbling mat and app can help you maximise your skills. So if you have a son or a daughter, a niece, a nephew that's football daft and you're looking for Christmas gift inspiration, FPRO is the one. You can get 20% off with the code Celtic20 via the link in the description of this video. Thank you. Let's get back to it. Now, Sturm Graz tomorrow, their last Europa League game was against Rangers. They won it 2-1. That was at home for them. They've had only one defeat in their last 5, which in contrast a wee bit to Celtic's form. They do concede a lot of goals from time to time. They do score a good few as well. They won 4-3 at the weekend in a bit of a crazy game away from home domestically. Though their only defeat, that 1-5, one defeat in those last 5 matches, was in Matchday 1 in the Europa League away to Midtjylland. So again, like I'm saying, they're in decent form. They're sitting top of the Austrian Bundesliga. They've won 7 and lost 2 of their first 9 games. So that is a team that's in decent form, probably have a bit of confidence about them. I think, again, as any opposition manager would come into play Celtic right now, you would smell blood and you would think you could get at them, you'd think you could hurt them. And all European opposition teams come to Celtic Park with this mythology that surrounds the atmosphere on a European night, and let's be honest, right now that doesn't exist. Certainly not in the Europa League, and certainly not with how the team is playing and everything that's going on around the place. So I don't think Sturm Graz will come and think this will be really intimidating for us. I think they'll sense an opportunity that if they come and play well and put on a performance, then they can win the game. It's up to Celtic to prove that that's not the case. It's up to Celtic, like I say, to get back to the basics, to run hard, to fight, to show the desire, and then try and find something that will let the quality show and score goals. And that's what Brendan Rodgers is alluding to today. That's what we need to do as an absolute minimum tomorrow. We need to become difficult to play against. We can't be, as Callum McGregor it tells us just now, we can't be easy to play against tomorrow night. The Sturm Graz team, from what I gather, I think Kitashvili up front is a threat for them. I think he plays just off the front, sort of in the 10 position. He scored 8 goals in 11 games so far this season. He's been at Sturm Graz for a number of years now. I think his best goal scoring season for them is 13, and he's already scored 8 in 11 games, so he really is in a purple patch. He's a danger man for them. He got a goal against Rangers. They've got a physical threat in midfield as well, in the form of Danish midfielder Chukwani. So we'll see how they approach the game. Brendan Rodgers saying today that they've sort of tweaked their formation for the European games so far to be a sort of 4-2-3-1 setup. Like I say, we'll see what they've got to offer to the game tomorrow. But again, as an opposition manager, opposition players, you would relish playing against this Celtic team just now. And like I say, it's up to the players and the manager tomorrow to show us something, to show us that they have got something in them to turn this around. And I know this might seem drastic. This might seem, I mean, I know somebody commented last week, believe it or not, in my starting 11 prediction for the game at the weekend, saying, can't believe the negativity on the video or something. I'm not sure what Celtic team they've been watching recently, but if my language seems drastic, you just need to look at the language the manager and the captain are using just now. This is where we are. It might be red flags to be talking about doing all the things that aren't about talent, about being easy to play against. Brendan Rodgers' comments after the game at the weekend, these might seem like red flags, but that's because they are. And I think they have only come off the back of how things have unfolded, how the team has performed, and it's up to them to show us that those things aren't right and that maybe this talk is overblown and that they can turn it round. I don't see it. I really don't see it in this Celtic team at the moment, but it's football. You've got another opportunity to go and show tomorrow that that's not the case, and let's hope they do that. So let's turn our attention then to the starting 11 for the game tomorrow. Again, if you go through this team, I think there's a lot of positions that you would like to change, you would like to see changed, but the reality of it is the depth and the competition and the quality isn't there. Now, there's a few positions where you think Brendan Rodgers has his favourites and he's just going to stick with those players. But the only thing you could say in his defence is that when you look at the bench and you look at the squad beyond the first 11, it's hardly like there's players battering down the door to take people's jerseys. Kasper Schmeichel will play in goals. Right back, I'm going for Alistair Johnston to come back and start this game. I just don't see how we can continue with Tony Ralston in that position. If he's not fit, it needs to be Colby Donovan. The right-hand side has killed us most of this season. We know the issues at right wing where we basically don't have any players. Right back with Johnson being out has also been a killer for us. And so to have that problem at right back and at right wing means that whole side of the pitch has been totally dysfunctional for us for a number of months now. So hopefully Johnston can bring something back to the team. You talk about desire and doing the basics well. He is a player that can do that. So hopefully he has some sort of motivating effect on the team. And like I say, I think his quality is much better than Ralston, and he's much more experienced than young Colby Donovan as well. So when he comes back in the team, if it is to be tomorrow, let's hope he can bring something that we have been missing. He's by no means going to solve things single-handedly, but I think it would be a boost for us to have him back in. Centre half, Carter Vickers, Scales, both had a terrible weekend at Dens Park there. I thought Carter Vickers, I've said this a couple of times already, I mentioned it in the full-time reaction, He just doesn't look anything like the player that we've watched at Celtic over 4 or 5 years now. A real shadow of himself. Who knows why that is? Is he one that thinks the club haven't done enough this season to meet his ambitions to push on and play in the Champions League again, and he's having his head turned and thinking, I should maybe be out of here by now? Is it just the human element of having seen it all and won it all that I've talked about before? Again, those are not excuses. You're still being paid a fortune to turn up and perform, and he's miles off it just now. Liam Scales, again, I know there's this predominant theory with Liam Scales that he's been the pick of the bunch so far this season, that he is the one player who deserves huge credit so far this season. I think that tells you everything you need to know about where Celtic are at. My opinion about Liam Scales has been clear for years now. The squad has regressed so much and the decline has been so stark that we now might be at the stage where we think, well, Liam Scales is the worst of our worries. But when the squad was looking really strong and the team was looking really good, I was of the opinion that Liam Scales, I think that's a position we could really improve on. And now people are telling you he's the best player in the team. That shows you where Celtic are at the minute. I'm going for Sriracha at left back. I think it was a really, really poor outing for Tierney at the weekend as well. I know that there's a lot of talk around him in terms of his performances since he came back to the club, his robustness since he came back to the club, his speed and his explosiveness or lack thereof. I think his performances really haven't hit the mark. And again, like I say, he's playing in a poor team, but you can't get away from the fact that we've brought him back, and the consensus was that it was a really big signing for Celtic. He was really going to improve us in that area of the pitch, and that has not transpired at all. So I think with the usual rhythm being that he plays one game and then sort of misses out the next one, given where his performance was at on Sunday, I'm just going for Sriracha. Hopefully he can bring us a bit of energy. He's somebody who's done okay, I think, in the games that he's played. He does seem a wee bit erratic at times, and when he played against Braga and we changed the shape in the second half, he looked like he was here, there and everywhere for a left back, and the game all became a bit open. And that's maybe an important point though, because Brendan Rodgers went back to that sort of 3 at the back, 2 up front formation in the second half at the weekend. He did it against Braga in the second half as well. We didn't score any goals in either of those 2 halves of football, and I think the cohesion of the team looked miles off it. Now, Brendan Rodgers did say today that he's not getting a lot of coaching time, and the coaching is done on a video screen and trying to show players certain situations where they need to be better and what they need to do. So maybe that's why this 3-5-2 sort of scenario is not working for us, because it hasn't really produced anything. I think the players look like they're anywhere and everywhere. Like I say, there's no cohesion really to that second half performance. I don't think the 2 strikers functioned well at all. I don't think they knew where to be. I think they were killing each other's space at times, and then Iheanacho was drifting out wide and then not in the right position. By the time the ball was coming into the box, I don't think it worked for us at all. But to bring it back to Sriracha, I just think he'll come in for Tierney, and like I say, hopefully he can bring us some form of energy. Midfield, again, a total nightmare trying to pick this midfield. There's not a player in midfield that hasn't been criticised for their form and the way that they're playing. And again, you can't argue that. To bring it back to Callum McGregor talking about being easy to play against, those 3 are not doing the basics well enough, not passing the ball well enough, not playing at enough speed, but there's not enough desire, running power, energy, winning enough duels, first balls, second balls. They're not doing any of that. But again, you do find yourself thinking, well, Brendan Rodgers is going to play. He's going to play Callum McGregor in that deeper position, who's going to captain the side. I think Rio Hatate will keep his place as well. I've gone for Engels to replace Nygren. I'm just not sure about the combination of Engels and Nygren together, because I think Hatate's been so poor. He's in the same bracket as Carter Vickers for me, probably subconsciously or consciously doesn't want to be here anymore. He's seen it all, done it all. Thinks that he should maybe have moved on by now. I don't know what it is, but his performance level is nowhere near good enough at the minute. But I don't like the combination of Nygren and Engels together. Engels is, like I say, you can make this argument for all the players in the midfield. nobody is battering the door down and proving that they should be playing. But I'm just going with those 3 in there. Let's see what Brendan Rodgers does tomorrow. I've just tossed a coin, and that's the 3 I've come up with. Front 3, the problems don't stop there. Obviously, Yang played on the right-hand side, and you are scratching your head as to how many times we need to start Yang and then sub him at half-time to realise that it is not going to happen for Yang as a Celtic player. It is a necessity, you could argue, because of the lack of options there for the manager, but how many times you need to do it to prove that it doesn't work. He's not going to be a Celtic player. He's not cut out to be a Celtic player. And really, it's like starting with a man down. There's no chance Yang can start the game tomorrow. James Forrest, I've put in some of these starting 11s so far this season, and he's been nowhere near it. I even think his impact off the bench in recent weeks has been nowhere near where it has been in the last 12 to 18 months. He's become a player who you can kind of rely on to impact the game positively, James Forrest, at this late stage in his career, but recently he's done very, very little. The weekend was a prime example of that. At the weekend, I did think the manager might go with Tenekte on the right-hand side, so I'm putting him in again here tomorrow because this is the only concoction I can come up with as a front 3 that looks like something fresh that we haven't seen before. I mean, as a set-up with certain players in certain positions, because we've seen all of the players in it, but I think Tenekte on the right-hand side, Balikwisha on the left, he produced a decent save for the Dundee goalkeeper in the dying embers of the game with that curling shot, probably a bit of a camera save. There wasn't a lot of pace on the ball, and in fairness to him, we didn't test the Dundee goalkeeper anywhere near enough, so there's some form of credit for actually hitting a shot, but he's underperformed. I thought he might get a wee boost from the assist against Motherwell. I think he's underwhelmed again when he's come off the bench at the weekend. You're looking, when these players are coming off the bench and Celtic are playing so poorly, you're looking for them to be the spark and to show the character to stand up and take the ball and make things happen, and it's not happening for Balikwisha so far, but he's not had many starts. I think, like I say, it's the only sort of dynamic I can see that we haven't saw so far. So I think that Tenekte on the right, Balikwisha on the left, Iheanacho through the middle is the only passable option. We'll see what Brendan Rodgers goes with, but that's what I think he might do. Tenekte on the right-hand side, maybe just to be able to go on the outside. He is one who impressed early doors. You can see that he's got something about him. There's no doubt he's not getting rid of the ball quick enough. His end product is nowhere near good enough, but that's not to write him off. He did look promising in the early stages. This is a team that's not playing well just now. I think he's still got really good ability. He can grow, and we've covered Balikwisha. Iheanacho up front. I'm struggling with him. I really am struggling with him. I think he could maybe have had a goal at the weekend. One at the back post. He just struggles to get it under control, and then it gets smothered by a combination of the Dundee goalkeeper and a Dundee centre half. He's just not sharp enough, and I said this a couple of weeks ago about Iheanacho. He's never been the guy. He's never been the number one guy throughout his career, and right now Celtic need a number one guy. Celtic need somebody, like I say, who's going to show the character to score goals, and I think he hasn't done that so far, and that's alarming, because he is the sole player that we're relying on up there. Johnny Kenny comes off the bench, does honestly next to nothing, and like I say, he's not how we move forward either. So Iheanacho undoubtedly has got to do more, like the rest of his teammates, but I've got huge concerns about whether that's enough for us. Huge concerns. There you go. Another joyful starting 11. Apologies if you didn't like it. If you disagreed, comment below, like the video, and I'll see you tomorrow with a full-time reaction after the game. Thank you.